everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first ever Self-Worth Saturday. So this is a series I've been wanting to do on my channel for a while. But what this is going to basically consist of is I'm going to do a weekly topic related to self-worth. A lot of those, especially in the beginning, are coming from some requests I've had from subscribers on specific topics. During this series, I'm going to talk about that particular topic as it relates to self-worth. I'm also going to give you some journal prompts and a challenge each week related to that topic. And we'll close out with an oracle card reading, just to kind of tie things up a little bit neatly at the end. I'm hoping to premiere this particular video so that I can be available on live chat while it's airing, at least this first one for sure. And then after this is over, we will also be having a live chat. So Peggy will be with me and we will chit chat in a casual way, take Q&A, anything related to that week's topic, and then we can go from there, see where that particular live chat leads. But I really want this to be a tool that can help support you on your path to self-worth. So I want it to be serving your needs. The pre-recorded videos that I'm making now, I kind of want it to be something that really supports you on your path. So our very first topic is going to be self-sabotage. This was a topic that was requested by Kimberly in our Facebook group, Supportive Tarot. And, where to begin? So first let's define what self-sabotage is. So really, self-sabotage is when you do any set of behaviors that's really designed to prevent you from getting where you want to get. So this can be distraction, it can be procrastination, it can be pushing people or things away that actually support your growth. It can be picking fights with your partner. It can be putting up walls or laying down eggshells at your feet, which I'll talk more about, and testing people. So testing people to see if they're really, there for you or whatnot. These are all different types. These are all some of the ways self-sabotage comes up, and there's a bunch of others. But in essence, it's important to recognize that self-sabotage is a thing that most of us do at some point in our lives, and usually because we're feeling fearful. There's a few different ways fear shows up. It shows up, there's some different sort of motivations, I guess, that get into this, that are the reasons why we get into this behavior. Comfort. So we're afraid of the unknown. It's literally the devil we know versus the devil we don't. And it can be very comfortable to stay in a situation, to avoid progressing, to avoid moving forward. That can be much more comfortable than taking those risky or challenging feeling next steps into something new. Even if where you're at now isn't really where you want to be. Even if where you want to get to is really appealing, the comfort of where you are now sometimes pulls you back, or the temptation of that comfort pulls you back. And this is where some of our self-sabotaging urges can come up. Another thing that can come up is we don't believe that we deserve happiness or to be loved or success. We innately feel like we're not worthy of that thing. This is the very basis of self-worth, is this feeling that we're not good enough. We don't deserve that great partner. We don't deserve the good job. We don't deserve to make more money, so we don't ask for the raise. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that show up, and it's super common, but we don't really talk about it. It's not like you get together with your bestie and are like, yeah, I don't feel good enough, because normally we're trying to put on a brave face, or we're trying to put on a more confident face than we feel. So the thing is, and there's one more thing. And this, I'm familiar with all of these, by the way, and I'll get into that a little bit. But the third one, so there's fear and sort of that desire for comfort. There's the genuine lack of self-worth, and we don't always recognize our reasons why we're behaving a particular way or why we're stuck up in that self-sabotaging loop. The third one is control. It's much easier to control your failure than your success. When we're failing, like, anybody can guarantee that you're going to fail. Like, you can guarantee you're going to fail at anything. It's easy. You just put it off, avoid it, don't do it, don't make the headway. And I have to tell you, even just saying all of this stuff out loud is giving me all of the feels, because I do all of the things, even still, on my path. So it's really easily recognizable for me. But, so controlling failure is so much easier. When we're trying to be successful at something, when we're trying to achieve our goal or get to a certain place in our growth, we don't know if we're going to make it. We don't know if we're going to get there. We don't know what the result is going to be when we get there. We don't know what our life is going to look like when we get there. And we certainly don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that success. So it's scary. It's literally the unknown. It's this territory that we are so afraid to travel into. And so we hold ourselves back because we can control the outcome if we're not succeeding. We can't control the outcome if we do. And the other important part here about control is that maybe you succeed at whatever it is. Maybe you have that good relationship or you get that great job, but you can't control when that thing goes away. And I think this is a really important part of the discussion. You can't control if you and your partner grow apart, or that person chooses to leave or cheat, or you lose them through an unexpected death. Or what about that job? What happens if the company shuts down, or there's a wave of layoffs? Or, what if you start a business but something happens in your neighborhood? This happened to me. Something happens in your neighborhood that you can't control, and suddenly you're in the position that you're in. It's not necessarily, success is never something you can control. Failure is. And I think that's a huge part of the conversation, or at least it certainly has been in my life. So how all of this has shown up for me. Let's talk about comfort. I put off happiness and general well-being in my own personal life for years because I was comfortable with the known. And the known was stable in all of its stability. I was in a relationship that was stable in the sense that it was unstable. I always knew exactly what to expect from my partner. I always knew how conversations would go. I knew what things I could get out of that relationship and what I couldn't. I knew what the rules of engagement were, and there was comfort in that because I tell you what, even if it's really dysfunctional and you know it's not serving your highest good, you can really notice that it's still comfortable. And at one point in that relationship, both me and my partner referred to it as the comfortable slippers kind of relationship. It was literally comfort that kept us both there. Whew. And you know what? It's tough because why would anybody step away from the known comfort, even if it's not serving you, and step into the great unknown, into the what if I'm alone forever? What if nobody ever loves me again? These are the kinds of things that we ask ourselves when we're in these situations that don't serve us. And let's take it away from relationships for a second. Let's talk about jobs. I'm notorious for this one too. I'm in a job, it's stressing me out, it's not serving my greatest good at all. I'm bringing home fights to my wife. Like, these things are all happening, and yet it's known, it's comfortable, and I will self-sabotage asking for a raise because I don't want to rock the boat and it's stressful enough. Or I'll self-sabotage not looking for another job because I don't want to deal with the reality of something new and something that could be, what if it's worse? What if it's worse is probably the number one question that happens in our minds from those of us that are self-sabotaging. And I want to point out too that self-sabotaging doesn't have to be this very active, conscious, self-malicious kind of thing. It's not necessarily that you're thinking, wow, I'm going to screw myself up now. It's just that you habitually or subconsciously start to avoid those things that would propel you forward. So that's my experience with one of my experiences with comfort. Let's talk about the feeling of unworth. There are few people, I truly believe, there are few of us walking the world right now that feel truly worthy. I have been consciously on a self-worth journey for over a decade, and I've come a long, long way in that path, and I'm consciously aware of my self-worth journey. I'm consciously aware of the work it requires to uphold a sense of self-worth, and I struggle with this stuff every single day. And the biggest difference between me and anybody else maybe struggling with this in this moment is that I'm at least consciously aware of it and watching it and paying attention to it. But that doesn't mean I'm not struggling with it. It just means that if I notice it, if I'm having a good day and I'm being mindful, I can make another choice. I can do the scary thing or trust the thing, or you know what I mean? But I'm still having the same battle. And so when it comes to that deep-rooted sense of not good enough, it's important to remember that we are constantly fed messages from everywhere around us that we're not good enough. And it happens in our media, products that are sold to us, everything's sold to us because we need this better thing. And all of that is sold to you on the premise that you're not good enough. So really, we're subconsciously getting these messages constantly. It's hard to get away from. And we're societally conditioned as well to be self-deprecating, to not accept compliments. Think about when somebody walks up to you and says, "You look really nice today." Is that comfortable for you? Is it easy for you? Because it is for some, but there's a lot of us who that's like, you look nice too. Like, we just don't know how to do it, or will respond with, really? Like today? Like, I'll never forget, I was speaking at an event on self-love and talking about this idea of owning and taking up space in the world. And one of the attendees came up to me after the conference and said, I never realized, this person had never really made the connection, but what they realized was that they hadn't been conditioned that way. They had grown up in a culture or in a family where when somebody said something nice to you, you said thank you, and you accepted it and you believed it. And to her, it was actually jarring when she moved into the area that she was then living, where suddenly the culture was not that way, and people looked at her kind of funny if they gave her a compliment. She was like, thank you. I do think I look nice today. Because how awkward is that? Like, most of us don't do that. And I just think it's important to remember that this is a pervasive theme, and we're going to see this. I mean, I could say the same thing probably on every subject we're going to tackle every single Saturday, or every single week anyways. I don't know if it'll always be Saturday, but you know. The thing is, this self-worth stuff, it's like the ground we walk on. It's just there for most of us all of the time to one degree or another. So it's important to remember that it is there, that it is that sort of inner critic constantly like yammering at you in your ears, and to know when it's okay to dismiss that voice. And I know this is a big topic, but let's get into number 3, which is control. This is my home territory. This is my home turf. Controlling failure always to me has felt safer. It's not like I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do this thing, or I'm not going to grow in this way. But you can be sure that it's the most comfortable place for me to hang out. If I'm betting on failure rather than betting on success, then there's no letdown. It's like I just get to hang out here. And in a lot of ways, starting this YouTube was that way for me. It was not that way. It was kind of the opposite. It was like me saying, okay, I'm going to go into this and I'm not going to worry about whether it turns into a thing or it doesn't turn into a thing. As long as I'm enjoying it, I'm going to do it. And if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to do it, because I don't owe anybody anything. And that is the conscious effort I made, that to come into this space, into YouTube, without putting that pressure on myself so that I wouldn't self-sabotage. And so far it's worked. I've given myself complete permission to do what I want here in this space, to do the things that feel good, to not do the things that don't. And miraculously, I haven't yet felt a need to self-sabotage, at least that I've noticed. And I think that that's important to notice. But in relationships, this shows up for me a lot. I have big abandonment stuff from my childhood, from previous relationships. I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is the way that I was raised. And so it's really hard for me to soften and surrender into a relationship, whether it's a friendship or my marriage or anything. It's hard for me to soften in and go, not everybody's going to go anywhere right away. There's not necessarily always going to be another shoe to drop. And by constantly looking for that other shoe to drop, I end up, as Peggy very eloquently puts it, laying eggshells down at my own feet and at the feet of the people in front of me, because I'm constantly waiting for that bad news. And when I do that, I'm literally setting up that relationship for failure. And, Peggy said it really bluntly to me the one day. And I can't remember exactly how she expressed it. She'll probably remember, and we'll talk about it in the live chat after this video. But something about by constantly fearing that she was going to leave, I could, in the right circumstance or in the wrong circumstances, I could guarantee that she does. And she didn't say it like in a mean way. It was just one of these Psych 101 conversations where it was like, if you're constantly waiting for that, you're going to basically predict it, because you'll end up making the decisions and enacting the behaviors that will ensure that that happens, because it's constantly something that's in the back of your mind. It's a constant fear. And coming at any relationship or any situation from a place of fear is not setting you up for a good thing. So that is my thoughts on those sort of main points about self-sabotage. I'm really interested in what comes out of this discussion in the comments. If you don't feel comfortable talking here on YouTube about this stuff, you're more than welcome to join us in the Supportive Tarot Facebook group, and we can have conversations there. We will also have a live chat after this video at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and if you happen to be around for that live chat, you're welcome to join us there for some Q&A and just some general chit-chat about this topic. But before we go, I want to give you some tools for dealing with self-sabotage. I mean, we don't want to just blah this all over you, or I don't, and then leave you with like, okay, well now what? Now that I see that I do this, what do I do next? So I'm going to give you a couple things. I've written them down. I don't want to forget here. So the key to anything around self-worth is noticing fear and facing that fear as much as you possibly can, and in whatever way that you're comfortable. So first, let's look at a couple of journal prompts that might help you to unpack this a bit for yourself. So this is an exercise I've done in various forms and in various at various times, and I've always found it to be really, really, really helpful. So it's kind of important if you're going to do this exercise to definitely do all three. Don't stop at one because you'll freak yourself out. But question number one is to ask yourself and to literally write this out. Stream of consciousness, don't edit it. Like if you're faster typing, do it somewhere where you can type. If you're faster handwriting or less likely to edit handwriting, do it handwriting. But answer the question, what are you afraid of? And what is the worst case scenario about the thing you think you might be self-sabotaging? So what am I afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? And write it out. What is the thing that you think might happen if it all goes sideways? What does that look like? 2, if your worst case scenario happens, what would your life look like 1 week later, 1 year later, and 10 years later? And what will you have learned from that experience? No matter how horrible your worst case scenario is, I guarantee you, if you explore what it's going to look like right away, and that's the thing we're all afraid of, what's it going to feel like when it happens, when this horrible thing happens that we're so afraid is going to happen? What does that look like? And then you look at it, what does it look like a year later? Where are you at 10 years later? Because no matter what horrible concoction your imagination can come up with, and trust me, I am ace at this. I can come up with some horrible circumstances. Guaranteed, no matter what that thing is, if you imagine where you would be 10 years later, chances are you're going to be stronger and you'll have learned something, no matter how horrible it is. And I know that that's horrible to put yourself in that position to think of those things. And please keep in mind that you know your limits best. If this exercise feels like it's going to be really triggery, not healthy for you in some way, or you need to talk to somebody about it, please do that first. But this is how I unpack these things. So take it, take what resonates for you, leave the rest. The third thing I will do is write down, what would my life look like if the worst case scenario doesn't ever happen? So you explore the worst, and then you explore, but what happens if it doesn't happen? What happens if I go for the thing, and the bad thing doesn't happen, and the good things happen, then what? And it ends it on this note of thinking about what's possible instead of fearing what you think might happen. I hope that makes sense. So 3 journal prompts to face your fear. And here is our weekly challenge, and I am totally included in this. Set one small, very small, super mini goal that moves you in the right direction. So I want you to think about something so small, it's ridiculous. It's laughable. So small that if you don't do this thing, you will feel completely silly. So let's give you an example. And then I'll tell you probably what mine's, no, not probably, I'm already doing the thing. I'll tell you what mine's going to be. Okay, so first, let's say that you're self-sabotaging school. You're in a college course and you've been putting off studying, you've been just bombing your tests because you've been procrastinating. Then this week, if you have a chapter of reading assigned, commit to reading like 5 pages or 1 page. 1 page out of an entire chapter. If your goal is to, just for your own self or for your own mental health, if your journal is to write in a journal every day for a half an hour, write for 1 minute. 1 minute. Set a timer. 1 minute. And then you can be done. So it needs to be teeny tiny. That's the entire point. So I'll share mine. Here's the thing that I am self-sabotaging the crap out of right now. Writing my damn book. I have not written in my book in months. I have everything there. I've talked about it in multiple videos. I set depth year goals around it. It is January 9th at the time I'm writing this or recording this, and I still haven't written a single word. I've gotten completely out of the habit of writing. I know I'm self-sabotaging. I know I'm afraid to finish this and put it out into the world. So do you know what my super small, mini, teeny tiny goal is this week? I'm going to write 5 sentences. 5 sentences. 5 sentences. And I will check in with you guys next week and let you know how I did. And I hope you'll join me next week and let me know how you did on your super mini goal. If you are comfortable sharing what your mini goal is down below, please do, because I'm always curious. If it's something that's really personal or you just don't feel comfortable, that's totally fine. You can share it with us in the Facebook group. You can not share it at all. But I really challenge you at the very least to consider where self-sabotage might be showing up in your life, what it might be looking like for you, and see if you can maybe unpack some of that for yourself. So today I'm going to pull a card for us to close this out from the Self-Love Oracle by Janet Chewy. This is a really beautiful little deck. And I'm just going to pull a card and read the message from the guidebook. And we'll just close it off with that for now. And I will see you hopefully in a few minutes in our live chat if you are watching this when it's happening. Live chat will be shortly after this video, and we can talk about it a little bit more. Maybe chit chat about our goals, etc. Okay, let's see what comes up for us. Learn. So appropriate for me and my current self-sabotaging. So this is what the card looks like. So sorry there's so much glare. I'm going to read you what the card says first. This is card number... I think they're alphabetical in the guidebook. Oh, nope, they're numbered. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up and then I'll read what the card says and then I'll read what the guidebook says. So the card says, expand your knowledge to expand your world. Seek out teachers of wisdom. Constantly seeking new knowledge creates broader perspectives. And that is really what I hope this series is going to do. It's just going to offer you a different perspective. And my experience might not be your experience. You might not self-sabotage at all. Or maybe you've got it all handled and you know where yours is coming from. Or maybe you're currently working with a mental health specialist who's helping you unpack some of this stuff for in your own way. And all of that is totally cool. Here's what the guidebook says. There's a quote here by Confucius. Learning without thought is labor lost. Thought without learning is perilous. We live in an age where sharing and accessing information has become easier than it's ever been before. If we are ever stuck for lack of inspiration or information, we've probably momentarily forgotten the wealth of resources available to us. Besides reminding you of the books, articles, videos, and audio resources available online and at your library, this card may also be an invitation to look at some local or online courses, workshops, and sharing sessions. A trip to the museum or an art gallery may also be fun. And this image is called The Reading Tree. So beautiful, this artwork. I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, whether you're watching this when it's first live on my channel, or whether you're watching this 10 years from now, assuming the content's still there. I hope that this serves your highest good. And remember to repeat as often as you possibly can, I am worthy and unafraid. Have a beautiful Saturday, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.